Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews. This one I'm going to be looking at the Daniel Craig James Bond films. Now, the James Bond franchise is pretty much my favourite franchise, which is surprising that I haven't covered it on any of my reviews so far, so I thought I'd save it for something nice anyway, and do something rather than just sit in front of the camera like this, talking. So I'm going to do a kind of documentary style thing like I've done with some of the others that I've run on the website so far. So let's kick this off anyway.
Okay, so it's 2002, Die Another Day has come out, and it's pretty much a disappointment. Just Halle Berry, Madonna, that Matrixy style look from the action, the set design, right down to a lot of the wardrobes. It was contemporary, but this just wasn't James Bond in many fans' opinions. I would count myself in that group. Die Another Day wasn't a bad film, but I just think that Pierce Brosnan's main appeal as Bond over his 4 films was his nod to the old days, the nostalgia factor. Also in the same year as Die Another Day, we saw the first release of the Bourne franchise with Matt Damon, the Bourne Identity, released in 2002, which, I'm sorry, but it was just the better of the 2 films that year. It just was, guys, that's a fact. By 2004, I recall seeing Pierce Brosnan on TV giving interviews about his upcoming 5th James Bond film, and how development of this was, in his words, in opaque territory. He stated that an amount of paralysis had set in with the producers and that they didn't know where to go next with the franchise. By 2005, we'd gone 3 years since 007 was last on screen, and now he was in pretty similar boat to that which he was in back in 1981 following the release of the far-fetched but very enjoyable Moonraker. The subsequent film after Moonraker was For Your Eyes Only, and this did a good job of taking Bond back to his basics following the over-the-top action and plot of Moonraker 2 years earlier. Less science fiction, basically. Similar to Moonraker, as enjoyable as Die Another Day was, despite the bad choices they made, it was time for something new. Now, there was talk at the time that actor Clive Owen was up for the role of James Bond. This was the talk of summer 2005. I do recall seeing Owen in Sin City that summer and thinking, you know, this guy has the look and the ability to really pull this off. But by October 2005, there were really only 2 British names that I can recall hearing being bandied around by the media as the potentials. One was Daniel Craig, whom I'd never heard of, and the other was a much younger actor called Henry Cavill, who I'd never heard of. Later on turned out Henry Cavill would become Superman in Man of Steel in 2013. But anyway, on the morning of 14th of October 2005, it broke, early and unofficially, that this Daniel Craig fella had got the part. Now, I do remember hearing at the time that he'd actually told his mother, and somehow it got out to the press. Anyway, it was all over the news later that morning, and the press conference was announced for the same day aboard some royal battleship. Can't remember the name, but it was docked on the Thames River in London. Now, I was between jobs at the time, and so I got to watch this live on the news. It was pretty cool. He was this actor with a terrible haircut, wearing a life jacket, rolled out in front of the cameras as the new James Bond. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen before as 007. Certainly no Pierce Brosnan in most people's opinions.
That's fine. There, Daniel. Headshot.
Daniel, here, please. Down here.
Daniel, just on this side.
There was an official press release photo, as you can see here, that was handed out and displayed across the news on TV and online that showed the actor dressed up in a tuxedo pointing the Walther P99 with a silencer. Looked very interesting to say the least. I was very optimistic myself. But he was instantly lambasted across the press, however, as not being up for the part. Some of the headlines: James Bland, James Blonde, a reference to his hair colour. He was a complete pussy because he wore a life jacket when being transported onto the ship for the press conference, even though this was mandatory, but the facts aren't important to the mainstream media in the UK, so who cares? Oh, there was other stuff. He was too short. They threw everything at him, and for pretty much the year leading up to the 2006 release of Casino Royale, we just saw nothing but. I remember it was pretty low how some of the reporters stooped at the press conference especially. They kept bringing up everything, ex-girlfriends. It was pretty low.
James Bond is a legendary womanizer, and who would be your ideal Bond girl? Kate Moss or Sienna Miller?
I'm not going to get into that.
Anyway, the day of the official announcement was, like I say, it was 14th of October 2005. After it was on, I went down to do it at Smith's and I picked up Layer Cake on DVD, having never seen this before. This was a British film that Daniel Craig had starred in a couple of years prior. Now, I wanted to get an idea of what this guy would be like as James Bond, not having really seen him in anything before, so I kind of figured watch him in this and you'll kind of see for yourself. Layer Cake's an awesome film, and Daniel Craig did really well in that one, but I'll save that for another review. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't only the press that were giving the casting decisions some criticism. Some extremely upset fans actually set up websites such as Daniel Craig Not Bond and so on to voice their disgust. Well, where are they today following the release of these films? Good question. Anyway, the teaser trailer came through in May of 2006. It all looked great. Then there was a final trailer. We were psyched to see the film. It just looked so good. But what about the Bond theme? An unexpected choice. Chris Cornell of the 1990s rock band Soundgarden. One of my favourite musicians. So much stuff came together in this film that just worked so well together. Titled You Know My Name, the title theme echoed the ad campaign that launched GoldenEye a decade earlier. It also kind of spat in the faces of all the critics that said that Daniel Craig wasn't James Bond, whether intentional or not. And the song just kicked ass. It's got a come and have a go if you think you're hard enough kind of feel to it, which was very appropriate. It was very bombastic, which a James Bond theme should be. Very similar to the Live and Let Die theme from the 1970s. Anyway, 14th of November 2006, the film came out in cinemas, and what can I say? It was everything that many fans wanted. I wasn't sure what to think at first. I mean, there was no Q, no traditional 007 gadgets really, no money penny, no gun barrel opening. This was a bold reboot that, if they'd have got it wrong, it could have just gone so badly and just killed the franchise. Now, I think that the success of Batman Begins the year prior really gave the filmmakers the confidence that they needed to go forward with this. It was also director Martin Campbell who had soft rebooted Bond back in 1995 with GoldenEye that was brought on board to direct Casino Royale. So this would be his second time directing one of these films. And he had done a successful job back in 95 with GoldenEye, so it was a logical choice to have him back for this. Good choice in my opinion. Also, I mentioned before the Bourne Identity from 2002, which by now had been followed up with 2004's Bourne Supremacy. I recall thinking that Casino Royale really exceeded what those films had done, whilst without them we probably wouldn't have the same Casino Royale. There are lots of things I like about this film anyway. The bit where the barman asks him if he wants his drink shaken or stirred, to which he replies,
Do I look like I give a damn?
Just lots of things. I could go on all day. The film was a major success with critics, fans and the box office.
So yeah, Casino Royale got released on DVD and I think Blu-ray as well back in 2007. And I didn't have a Blu-ray player for a lot of years, but it came out as a 1 or a 2 disc set. You could get either. Obviously the 2 disc set would have extras. But in 2008, just before the release of Quantum of Solace, they released this deluxe edition, and it's very nice. Some of the stuff you get, it's actually 3 discs. Now I do actually have this on Blu-ray, but you can get it on DVD just the same. With every part of it is exactly the same, apart from obviously it's Blu-ray rather than DVD. So the actual box itself is very nice. You get this booklet with it as well, which is very kind of glossy, I guess. You can kind of hear the pages turning. Photographic quality style paper it's printed on. The extras on this, it's got a lot of deleted scenes. I don't think it really... Well, it does advertise it on the box. Yeah, it's got deleted scenes, documentaries, that kind of thing. It's got the music video to the Chris Cornell songs, a trivia quiz, and there's that kind of thing anyway. And the quality of it's okay in comparison to the DVD. Having owned this on DVD, I don't see much of a difference, but I mean there will be if you look at it scientifically, but it wasn't a massive difference. But nevertheless, anyway. Now the soundtrack, as I mentioned, was the main theme was done by Chris Cornell, and this was called "You Know My Name." and the actual song itself isn't included on the soundtrack album. This is just the score, but it was done by David Arnold, was the score, and he kind of co-wrote the song as well. So bits of the song are incorporated into the score, which is quite good when they do that. They don't always do it, but in some soundtracks they do. And this is David Arnold's, I think it was his 4th Bond soundtrack. He started with Tomorrow Never Dies in '97. And he's a big James Bond music fan, so he's a good person to do the scores to these. So he continues it in this. He doesn't really use a James Bond theme much in it, but that's what it is anyway. Like I say, it doesn't include the Chris Cornell song. That was I think he wanted to save that for his album that he released in 2007, in May 2007. That was his 2nd solo album, so the song was released on there. Also, like I say, you could get it on single as well, which I've got here. So that's it for Casino Royale anyway. So let's move on to the next film.
So 2 years later, it's 2008, Quantum of Solace, directed by Mark Forster. It's a strange, enigmatic film title. Well, they've pretty much run out of Ian Fleming's James Bond books to use, so they went with one of the short stories from Ian Fleming's For Your Eyes Only collection. I say they went with it, I mean in name only. The book, in the book Quantum of Solace, it's a short story of the same name, but it just has no parallels to this film. It's actually a story about a married couple whose relationship ends badly. It kind of goes off on a tangent from the usual 007 adventures that Fleming wrote. So basically what I'm saying is the film has no parallels with this. Anyway, the film had some bad reviews, but was generally liked and did well at the box office. I know I liked it. I'm a big defender of this film if anyone has anything bad to say about it. Now, its theme, Another Way to Die, was okay, and it did a good job, but it was a bit strange having Alicia Keys and Jack White together. Like my fellow reviewer, The Core, says, were these two singers even in the same room when they recorded this song? It's a fair point, Core. Anyway, very quickly, the film continues exactly where Casino Royale left off in 2006, and we get to see a lot more of what was hinted at in its predecessor. The shadowy organisation that operates behind the scenes with infiltrators literally everywhere. We learn that they call themselves Quantum. Well, it might be a bit derived as a name, but as they call it that, it's just so that it'll tie in with the title basically, so it'll make sense. Well, it doesn't make much sense, but hey-ho.
Quantum of Solace got released on DVD and Blu-ray in 2009, so it was about 4 months after the film got released, 4 or 5 months. The Blu-ray is pretty much, in terms of extras, exactly the same as the DVD. In fact, I only just upgraded to Blu-ray a week or so ago, because I got it off eBay very cheap, because I didn't feel a need to upgrade, to be honest. The quality is noticeable on this one. I found that the difference in quality was noticeable. But the extras are exactly the same, so there's no massive incentive to get this on Blu-ray. But you've got things like trailers, the music video Another Way to Die, and 5 featurettes, and there's a Bond on location feature as well. There's no deleted scenes, which is a bit of a shame. This film is pretty much the shortest of the 3. It comes in around about an hour and 40, or just a bit longer than that. But very good film. Anyways, I think it's the weakest of the 3. But I mean, these are awesome films, so that is in no way criticising the film. It is still very good. The soundtrack was again done by David Arnold, who had done the previous some of the previous scores. He did the Casino Royale one as well. The score to this doesn't incorporate any of the actual Another Way to Die song, which is a bit of a shame because it's nice when they do that. But still a very good score anyway, and has a kind of modern feel. So David Arnold didn't really run out of ideas at this point. He was still keeping it fresh. And this soundtrack does actually include the song as well, the actual Bond theme, which was done by Jack White and Alicia Keys. So that's that anyway. The next film obviously was Skyfall, so let's get to that.
Now, due to financial difficulties that MGM were having, we had to wait 4 years for the 3rd Daniel Craig Bond film, but it came in October 2012, finally, and was pretty much within weeks of the 50th anniversary of the original film Dr. No being released from 1962. Skyfall, directed by Sam Mendes, who had previously worked with Daniel Craig on Road to Perdition in 2002. This one rivaled Casino Royale in my opinion. It was great that they reintroduced Moneypenny, the Gadget Master Q, played by Ben Whishaw, who starred alongside Daniel Craig in Layer Cake in 2003. And they also introduced a new M, played by the excellent Rafe Fiennes, if I can pronounce his name bloody right. It's pretty much a revenge terror plot that our villain engages in. There's no plot to take over the world or steal anything as such. Straight up, he hates Judi Dench's M and he wants to publicly humiliate her and kill her. It's a very good mix of actors, plot, action, comedy, visuals, character development and so on. They really did a grand job putting this one together, so it was a pretty good one for the 50th anniversary. Now, one criticism is that it kind of departs from the plot of the first two, where we had the Quantum Infiltration Organisation. Well, I say that, it's pretty much Daniel Craig's answer to Goldfinger, which was Sean Connery's third film also, which departed from the organisation storyline Spectre that was established in its two predecessors, Doctor No and From Russia with Love. Now that certainly didn't do any harm to the film Goldfinger. In fact, it's pretty much regarded as one of the best Bond films ever anyway, so I don't see the problem. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, the main title song, Skyfall by Adele, which won an Academy Award. I was a bit pissed off, to be honest, when I heard that she was announced as the singer for this one. I thought, oh god, not that fat bird chasing pavements. Well, I kind of ate my words when the song came out. It was excellent.
So the Blu-ray for Skyfall got released a few months later, I think it was February 2013, and the Blu-ray actually comes with a DVD copy as well and a digital download option, so it's quite nice. And if you can get it just on DVD, it doesn't have all the same extras, I believe. Some of the extras aren't quite as not quite as full in terms of extras on DVD, let's put it that way. But there's nothing much else you get with it. There's plenty of special features. I don't think there's any deleted scenes, which again, like the Quantum of Solace Blu-ray, is a bit of a shame. But there's a couple of commentaries, featurettes. There's no music video to the Adele song because, from my understanding, I think she was pregnant when she recorded the song. It was very last minute, or it seemed that way anyway. So I guess they just didn't have time to do a music video. But nevertheless, the Blu-ray is very good. The soundtrack album, similar to the Casino Royale one, it doesn't feature the actual song on it by Adele in this case. It's a bit of a shame. So you'd have to buy that separately, really. I think I just downloaded it off Amazon, so I don't have a hard copy of it. But it's the score to this one. This is the first one to not be done by David Arnold since Tomorrow Never Dies, because he started with Tomorrow Never Dies in '97, doing the scores for these films. But I believe David Arnold was working on the London Olympics in 2012, the opening ceremony or whatever for that, so he wasn't available to do the score. So they went with a guy called Thomas Newman, who I understand has worked with Sam Mendes, the film director of this, on a lot of his films, if not most of them. So he kind of used him. So I'm not sure if David Arnold will ever come back, because I know that Sam Mendes is working on the next Bond film, which is due out in 2015. So it's a good question as to whether or not we will see David Arnold return for that, or whether they're just going to go with Thomas Newman. I was a bit disappointed when I found out that David Arnold wasn't doing the James Bond soundtrack, but as it turns out, I think this is probably my favourite of the three soundtracks for these films. It was really good. Really had a kind of feel of what's come before, and also modernising it kind of thing. And it did incorporate the actual Adele theme in the score as well, in at least one bit of the score anyway. There's a track I think that uses the bit of that song anyway in it. So very good soundtrack anyway, and I think that's pretty much it anyway. Don't have anything else to add. Everything about these films has been brilliant. I really have been, satisfied. As a long-time James Bond fan, everything they've done with this series of films has been spot on, absolutely, above and beyond what we expected, basically, because they really could have messed this up, but they've done a good job. So let's just hope that they stick with it, and I really do hope that Daniel Craig stays with them. I've seen in interviews that he said he's happy to keep coming back as long as they keep asking him back. So that's a good thing. So I really think he should stay with it, and who cares if he starts to get a bit old? Roger Moore was pretty old when he did it, but some of his best films were the ones that he did when he was older, like View to a Kill. In my opinion, those were, and For Your Eyes Only were the best ones that he did. So I don't see Daniel Craig aging being an issue, to be honest. Might do to the ladies out there, if you want a young, fit actor, fair enough. But I don't think that way because I'm not gay, basically. But that's we'll stick with Daniel Craig for now, as long as he keeps the standard that he has so far. I'm happy. So that's pretty much my review anyway. Hope you've enjoyed it. The website is brandxreviews.com, and there's plenty of other reviews up there. So I guess we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.